Destiny Payton. I'm Nye McGee with EURWeb.com. Thank you for giving me your time to speak about the new season of Love and Marriage Huntsville. This season, you open up about your time in foster care, and I know you meet your half siblings for the first time, and of course, the usual drama and chaos and trust issues that we always see unfold every season on this show. So let's kick things off by asking why this season or why now did you decide was the perfect time for you to reflect and open up about your time in foster care? What made you feel ready to share that part of your story in the show this season?
Well, as it pertains to as it pertains to foster care, that was a short stint of my life. And the journey to finding my siblings and introducing them to my mom, who's been addicted, dealing with her addiction for over 30 years. I say that I feel like the show is now getting into destiny, and it wasn't really a decision that I made, that I did make years ago, because I've shared my story along this journey about what I've dealt with foster care and my mother's addiction and those things, as a supporting cast. And I think now you're getting more in depth with my story because the storytelling is evolving, and you're getting a different side of me.
So, meeting your half siblings for the first time, I imagine that was a very emotional moment. So, what was your mindset? What were you going through leading up to that meeting? Were you incredibly nervous?
Yes, I was very nervous. I was nervous to reach out to them first, initially sending out the messages and saying, "Hey, I think I'm your sister." Because I have a total of seven siblings, one deceased, and there were three that I had relationships with because they were adopted, but they still stayed close to the family. We would see each other on the summers and be at my grandmother's house and things like that. But these three were moved away, names changed, and it was like I thought I would never meet these kids, like ever. And so when I started getting more clues and getting closer and closer to finding them, and then I saw pictures, I'm like, this girl looks just like my mom. Like, this is crazy. This gotta be my sister. Or, this guy looks like my brother, and this other guy looks like my son. And it was, these are my people. And so it's been a very interesting journey. It's been a very healing journey. It's been interesting getting to know my womb mates, is what we call each other, and learning to love immediately loving these strangers, like immediately loving these strangers. So it's been an interesting journey and a beautiful one.
Do you feel like that meeting gave you a sense of closure or a new beginning?
Both. That's a good question. I think I definitely got closure in finding them, and them to see the joy that it brought to my grandmother, because my grandmother used to post every single year their baby pictures and her telephone number, saying, if anybody knew these babies, call me. And so for her to have that closure, and me being a part of gifting that to her with God's help, first and foremost, um, it's just really just been very fulfilling.
What surprised you the most about meeting your siblings for the first time, your half siblings for the first time?
It didn't even register with me that they didn't know who their mom was. Like, they didn't know what she looked like. So I'm sending these photos, and it's like one of my brothers was like, "This is so surreal," and I'm like, "What's surreal?" He's like, "I never knew what she looked like," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Because my brother and I, the one that was is deceased that was murdered, he and I are the only two that she's ever raised. So I kind of had to pull back, like, ooh, let me be a little bit more delicate with this, because I'm just showing pictures and photos and thinking, this is my brother. Hey, this is me and my mom. This is my brother and my mom, and letting him digest, being able to see his birth mother for the first time. And yeah, it's a very delicate walk. Not trying to push people to meet people and do all those things, but my family is very uh big and overwhelming, so they all just kind of flooded them when I found them, which they said they weren't going to do, but they did. But yeah, it's been a beautiful journey.
And this season, we're also going to see that there's tensions between you and Leticia again, right? So, what can fans expect from that dynamic this season?
Girl, I don't know.
Anything you can tease us with?
I will say that, and I think I've said this before, I call this world of reality TV a social experiment. And you'll just see so many different layers to a dynamic that is unspoken. And you kind of think one thing, you think another, you see one thing, you see another, and then it just it's hard to navigate something that's not really rooted in anything. So that's why I said, girl, I don't know. But it's a roller coaster. It is definitely a roller coaster for sure.
Now, would you say the same thing is true about the overall friend group dynamic this season overall? Are we going to see like highs and lows, a lot of tension, or maybe some unexpected closures from people who may not have gotten along in previous episodes or previous seasons?
It's hard for me to say about other people because I learned with you guys. Like, I'm looking like, what? You said what? No, you didn't say that to the girl. Like, wait a minute, or whatever the case may be. So, um, I am interested to see how things unfold, honestly, myself. And as far as my situation, it's a continuous thing. And I just say pray for us, Lord. We need a lot of prayer.
Prayers up. Yeah. So speaking of that, Destiny, I mean, I imagine when you're filming, when you're in the moment filming the show, emotions are high, obviously, and reactions are quick and witty and you respond in the moment. But I imagine when you're watching it in playback, maybe however many months pass between filming and the show being televised, you're watching it for the first time each episode like we are the fans. So have there been moments where you've watched yourself and some of your reactions, interactions with castmates, and you're like shocked or stunned or surprised or embarrassed or regretful about how you responded or didn't respond in certain scenarios?
This season specifically, no. I think that I was, I did have a moment where I was like, oh, I don't remember saying that. Lord have mercy. Okay. But I think it was warranted. And you guys will tell me when you get there. It's a big reaction, but it was after a lot of poking. A lot of poking, and I did my very, very best with a lot of therapy and a lot of prayer. I keep talking about that. And trying to just be an evolved person in this social experiment. I keep saying that, but you get put in so many of the same scenarios and situations that you can't always react the same. You got to try to understand. I always try to get an understanding as much as possible. But I would say there was only one moment that I was surprised because I didn't even remember some of the things that I said. But it definitely came from a place of, yeah, it is what it is.
Is there a message or a through line that you hope viewers who can resonate with your professional career, personal career, or even some of the challenges you face with some of the cast members, viewers who resonate with that and can identify with that, what do you hope they take away from your experience on this show?
One, I hope that my story is inspiring. It's not an easy thing to share. I always talk about, I'm not the only 80s baby that lost their mother to the epidemic of drugs. And, I always say one of the things that makes me understand it is that drug that hit our community is something that was the only thing strong enough to take a Black mother away from our children. So there's so many people that have experienced that. So me sharing my journey, I'm hoping that people know that they can make it through that. They can be inspired because I am a walking statistic. I'm not supposed to be in the spaces that I'm in as a thriving businesswoman, a mother, and all the things that I'm doing in my life are because I came from that situation and evolved from that situation. And I'm continuing to better myself. But I want people to know that those circumstances don't define you. Who your parents are and what decisions they made don't define you. And I had to come to that myself because it can sometimes feel embarrassing. It can you take on their identity when it's not yours to take on. So I hope that I can inspire people to know that, and that you can make it through anything. As far as the social experiment and the relationships and friendships, I say this: people think that losing marriages or relationships that are opposite sex, or whatever your love language is or your love desire is the most hurtful thing. But friendships hurt too. They hurt. And so what I've learned in this experiment is that when you get to a space where people are stuck on misunderstanding you, let them misunderstand you from afar. And so you can have your peace. I am no longer trying to explain. I'm no longer trying to apologize. I'm no longer doing any of that. People that love me, know my heart, know who I am, how I rock, my loyalty, all of that. And if you don't get it, you don't get it. You're just not meant to be in my world and in my space. And I'm not gonna, at this big grown age, keep going through that. I'm just not.
That's a great segue into my next question. I was going to ask you, how do you, what are your methods or techniques to protecting your peace, your mental health, while still being open on camera? And it sounds like what you just stated, you have made the conscious decision to be unapologetically you. Is that safe to say is part of your process to protecting your peace and mental health while participating
I,
in this social
I
experiment?
I absolutely think that that's always been the case. Good, bad, and ugly and indifferent. I've always been me, in my wrong and in my right and in my I don't even know I'm confused. All of those things. I've been unapologetically myself. But now, I really am, in a space where I just I don't carry it. I don't carry it anymore. I used to carry it, and I used to feel, like I needed to fix things, but I'm just in a space right now where if you don't get it, you don't get it, and I wish you well. I think that this season, you get a lot of new added elements of other people's lives. We've watched a lot of the same polarizing story. Like everybody got sucked into being narrators or, being a part of other people's stories. And I still think that happens. But I think people are the way that it's being done this season to me is like you get a chance to get into everybody's world, and I love that. I love that. I think that that has definitely made the show evolve for sure.
And last question for you, Miss. Speaking of evolution, has participating on this reality series been transformative for you in any way, personally or professionally?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Personally, like I said, this experiment is like therapy, and I take it to my therapist and we dissect it and we talk about all the different things and dynamics that are shown and unseen. And sometimes the show is like a character itself. It is a cast member, the show itself, and what happens in the experiment. So I've learned so much about myself and just people and the dynamics of people and how people move and personality types and all that. So it's definitely been therapy for me for sure. Um, yeah, and I need extra therapy for it, but that's a whole nother story.